let's talk about the bot. In this video, I want to cover two things that I think people are fundamentally getting wrong. And once we go through this, hopefully we will get a better understanding of what the bot is and why Tesla would be the one to actually get it done. So let's start talking about the second point, like why would Tesla be the one to get this done? So it's all about Mars. That's where it starts. If you think about Elon Musk and what's his mission, his life's mission, is he wants to build a city on Mars. And that's his whole point. So when you start thinking about that and you're like, okay, what's the requirement to build a city on Mars? Well, you need reusable rockets, which at the time was kind of like wildly impossible thing to do. Everyone thought he was crazy, and he got it done. He got the Falcon 9, which now is like commonplace to see it landing. And the Starship is like on track, they're building it. Next thing you need for Mars is you need a base, some sort of city. So you're not gonna send people potentially to build it. So wouldn't it be great if you could send some sort of machine to build this city on Mars? And you see, I think that that's exactly what the Tesla bot is going to do. And more on that, I think the Cybertruck is actually designed to operate on Mars too. But let's talk about that in a different video. So once you start thinking about that, right? And then you kind of understand who Elon is and how he thinks, then you know that he doesn't stop, like ever. He's relentless. He has this mission which is extremely important for humanity, for consciousness itself. So it's like a really powerful mission, and he will do anything that is in his power to actually get it done, no matter how hard the problem is and no matter how new the space is. He did that with reusable rockets, and I think he's doing that with the bots now. And that's so having Elon's drive and Elon's reputation, I think that goes a long way to give you some sort of confidence that this will actually materialize. And at this point, I'm sure you've all heard about like after the prototype was unveiled, I'm sure you all heard about like people complaining that, oh well, Boston Dynamic has been doing that for like 10 years, right? Or like Honda had like similar prototype like 20 years ago. So what's new with this? So the question I want to ask to you then is like, what's the drive for Boston Dynamic to actually get like a real useful machine? Like, I don't think they have the drive that Elon has. Where's the drive from Honda? Where's the Honda bot? It doesn't exist. And that ties to the second aspect of why Tesla will get it done. It's manufacturing, right? Where are all these Honda bots? They don't exist. Where are the Boston Dynamic robots? They mostly don't exist. Now, there are some spots working on some places, but they're like super expensive. But like to give them credit, there are some robots deployed in the real world. There's just like not that many, and they're quite expensive. And the third point that is like really important for Tesla is that they have the training ground. You see, the bot is designed to not do one thing, but like kind of like do many things in different environments. And Tesla has factories, and the factories have like many different stations that are completely different. Like even if the task is similar, even if the task is move a component from A to B, and there's another station that is also move the component from A to B, but maybe the starting point and the target point are different, and maybe the shape of the object is different. So they have all these things that they can use to really design the bot to make it work in those situations. They have factories for cars, factories for cars have like big components. Battery factory, they have like small components, like tiny batteries. They actually build the factories themselves, so they build the building, which is like a whole different scale. They can potentially, like, when you think about that, they can train the bot to do some construction tasks too. That's insane. They have distribution, like shipping cars around. They have service centers, which is like potentially interacting with people at some point. They have rocket factories. Maybe they will use them in the Boring Company too. Who knows? The point is that they have like so many internal use cases that they can use to like really work and develop this bot and like really fix any problems they find. Which I'm not sure is the case for Boston Dynamics, right? Like if you want to train a Boston Dynamic robot to, I don't know, like paint a wall, like, okay, where do you do that? Like Tesla has factories, they're building factories, so they can do that. So I think those are like fundamental advantages that Tesla has due to the scale and due to just the sheer size of the company and how many different things they are doing. So with that out of the way, let's just talk about what actually is the bot, because there's plenty of confusion here. So let's start talking about like industrial robots, right? I don't know if you've seen one of these in real life or probably in photos. This is an industrial robot. It has like some sort of arm and some tool at the end, and is designed to do one specific task. Now, when you look at that thing, right, do you expect it to be sentient? Do you expect it to talk to you? Do you expect it to be your emotional companion? It's like, no, you just expect it to do like one like mechanical thing that it was designed to do, just that thing. And that's like a relatively simple machine. It has a couple of degrees of freedom and it can move, but it's like relatively simple. And then you have like really complex machines that you can think of as robots because they're automated too. This is the GigaPress, for example. It's huge and it's very sophisticated. But like, would you expect from that machine to have a relationship with you? Would you expect it to be your friend? It's like, no, it's just an industrial machine. It's designed to do something. And then an interesting thing happens when you change the shape, right? And you have something that kind of looks like a human now. And we've seen plenty of examples of this in like sci-fi movies. You get like C-3PO, you get Ex Machina, you get the Terminator type of stuff. And once the machine, so this is a machine, once it starts looking like a human, there is something that happens like very deep inside us as humans that is like driven by like billions of years of evolution, is that we see that shape and we immediately associate like personality, and we kind of like recognize it as a human, and that means that we have come to expect human-like behavior from these machines. And so when you think about that, it's like, okay, human-like behavior, that really opens up the space of things that this machine has to be able to do, which is like crazy high compared to the space of actions that this machine can do, right? So I was like really thinking about that today, and I realized that the Tesla bot, it looks like a machine. It looks like a human, but it's actually a machine. So like once you change that perception, and once you start thinking about it like a machine, and you reframe the problem, things like get really interesting, because now when you think that it's a human, you come to expect things like it has to be able to do everything a human does. It has to be able to do like social and intellectual things. It has to be able to be your friend. You have to be able to talk to it like in natural language, and it has to be able to respond. But when you think about like a machine, like you don't really expect those things from a GigaPress. So this is what I think it will do. I think it will do a sequence of tasks. So you could program it to do simple tasks, and then you can connect those tasks in sequences. And if you think about like software, a lot of like automation processes in software are like made of simple tasks that you kind of connect together, and the resulting system is like very complex, but it's just like made up of simple tasks. So I think this bot will be able to do simple things like pick something from here and put it there, and then open the box, and then take something out of here and then put it there, and then take the box, it's empty, and like throw it away. And you know, like very simple things, but if you just keep adding and you keep programming it to do those simple things and expanding the library of things it can do, you can compound that and combine that to do something like complex. And the beautiful thing about automation is like once you do that, and you do that once, it just does it forever. It just keeps working and working and working like forever, which is beautiful. So I think that's what it will do. If you think about it like a machine, it will do that. And it won't do things like like help you when you get old. It will not help deliver a baby. It will not do your taxes. It will not be your lawyer. It will not be your friend. It will not be your companion. It just will be a machine. And like to really illustrate the point, like they showed this example in the presentation. It was the bot like picking a piece from here and putting it there, and you can see like all the segmentation, vision stuff, which is pretty cool. But like it's essentially a machine that is moving something from here to there. You could envision a robot like this doing that, right? And you could potentially like create a robot like this to do that. Now, the thing that I think is really interesting is that this robot, it's kind of like fixed. And what I mean by that is, so it's fixed in like size, and when you decide what type of robot you're gonna put in a station to move a piece from here to there, you have to think about the hardware. Okay, how big does it need to be? How many degrees of freedom does it have to have? So you're like kind of designing and iterating in the hardware space, which is slow. And once you decide which robot you want, you put it in place, you bolt it to the floor, and it stays there forever. And if you want to move it, like you can move it maybe, but like it can only do certain things that is limited by the hardware. Now, if you think of the bot as a machine, but it's like more flexible, so like to start with, it can walk, so it's not bolted to the ground. It can move a little bit. So the operational domain like really grows. And when you think about it in terms of like how do you program it, you can program it to like do different tasks, and you're iterating in the software space in that case. Which is like way faster than hardware. So if you need a machine here to move something from one place to another place, you don't have to think about what machine you want. You just pick the bot, and as long as you can do it as a human, you know that the bot will be able to do it because it has the same degrees of freedom and that kind of stuff. So you just go and pick it up, and you don't think about the hardware. Then you start thinking about the software. It's like, okay, what are the instructions I need to give the bot such that the bot does what I want it to do? And that really becomes more of a programming type of question. You're iterating in the software space, which we know is like orders of magnitude faster. Like doing software is like way faster than hardware. And then you can potentially like change it to a different location later. If you change the object, you can think that the bot will be kind of like flexible and to understand that this object is a little bit different or is a different shape. And then you just can do so many things. I think it's a story of an industrial machine that is flexible, right? So when you think about it in those terms, it really doesn't become a labor replacement as such. I hear people talking about it, like saying like, "Oh, the bot is gonna take over all the jobs," and it's like, well, but what do you mean? Like, what even is a job, right? Like, there's no one job. There's like many different jobs, and some of the jobs are like really repetitive and simple, and you can move something from here to there. It's like those ones, yes, it will be able to do, but like other ones, like, I don't know, be your lawyer. I don't know, things like that, like things that require like more thinking. I think that's way further into the future. We really need to do like some fundamental breakthroughs in artificial intelligence in order to do that. Just to drive that point, all the crazy progress we saw in Tesla AI Day, it was related to like the physical part of the bot. Like, how do we keep balance? How do we walk? How do we see? How do we perceive? It's just like very physical type of things. When you start thinking about like complex problem solving and thinking and planning, that's just like a whole different level. I think we're quite far from that. Maybe eventually we'll do it. Maybe eventually it will talk to you. But yeah, I think we're far. So that kind of like was really that really changed the way I think about the bot. So I used to think of the bot as like this, it stays home and looks after your grandma, or works at a hospital. I'm like, man, that seems like pretty far, because this machine has to be extremely good to handle that type of those types of situations. So I was a bit of a skeptical on the whole bot thing, but this really like changed my perspective. Now I think it's like, okay, it's a machine which is very flexible, which you can move from one station to a different station. It just works all day long. It doesn't complain. It doesn't get sick. You just program one, and then you can have 2,000 of them doing the same thing. It's pretty cool. Like, you don't even need to like potentially like deploy them. You can just tell them, hey, walk there. That's your station. Go do it. And then, I don't know, when they are not needed at that part of the factory, you can be like, okay, go somewhere else and do something else. So it really becomes quite flexible. And I think that this is the missing link in a fully automated factory. And let's talk about factories for a second. So in a factory, you have like different processes, and you normally have like machines that are designed to do one part of the process. Let's say you're stamping the door of the car, and then another machine that is doing something else is like, okay, now you're welding the door and stuff like that. So you have these operation stations, and then you need to move the part, like you need to load it into one machine. Once the process is done, you need to unload it and move it to the next one, and then load it into that machine. So you have machines, you have transportation within the factory. That could be like a belted conveyor system, could be an ATV, like different ways. But like, you still need to take it from the machine, put it in the transportation system, and then take it from the transportation system, put it in the next machine. So there's still like a bit of loading and unloading process there. And you can design robots to do that, like little arms that grab it and put it somewhere else. But all of those are like kind of custom and like very specific to that task. And I think that's where the bot will shine. It will be this glue that brings all the machines together. It will fill in these little pieces with operations that are like quite simple, but just like boring and repetitive. And you don't want to have a human doing that, because number one, they will go crazy. That's not a good life. Number two, they might not be efficient. That can become a bottleneck. So if you can automate that with a bot that is generic, that would be great. Yeah, so that's like my thoughts. I really think of the bot like this now. It's a machine. You can clearly see it's a machine. And once I saw it like this, all these human-like expectations went away. And then it just became a machine. And when I started thinking of it like a machine, I was like, man, this is a really good machine. This machine is like super flexible. You can do so much with this machine. It's not gonna cook you dinner, not this minute, but yeah, it will just help you a lot in the factory. So those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below, like, what you guys think. If let me know if this makes sense to you. If you really expect to see the bot like operating beyond the factory in a more like social aspect in the near future, or if you think this is never going to happen, like, just let me know what you think. I'm like honestly really curious to see what everyone's expectations are. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.